Hello, welcome to this tutorial on math, which Leslie Graham and myself, Kathy Cummings, are developing for all of our nursing students in the collaborative UITDC nursing programs. And we're just going to go over a few basic rules that should help you as you're doing your math. So we're going to start with whole numbers. And we have a problem up here where we're adding 64 and 38. And what I really want to emphasize is before I do any math, I always try to estimate what it should be in my head. So if I were using a calculator to do this, I would first of all in my head estimate. Now we're promoting that you also be able to do it manually, but I'll show you what I mean about the estimating. So 64 is, I would round it down. This isn't 65 or greater, so I would say, okay, let's take that as 60. This is 38. It's above 5, so I'm going to say that's 40. And that's easier to add. So 6 and 4 are 10. I've added my ones column, my tens column, so I could see my answer guesstimating is 100. So I'm going to then assume, if I'm using a calculator or if I'm doing this manually, that this answer should be close to 100. So let's add it, and I'm going to show you how we manually add. So 8 plus 4, and if you have to do it on your fingers, that's okay. 9, 10, 11, 12. So I put my 1 column down here, and some people put the 10 part here, but I tend to put it up here. There's my 12. And then I add 6 and 3 is 9, and 1 is 10. And my answer is 102. And you can see that I know I'm probably very accurate because it's very close to my guesstimate. And I just want to emphasize, remember when you're adding, this became 12, you added that in the tens column. And we can see that this turns to 102. Subtracting, you often have to borrow from your other columns. So but let's first of all, so I would say that this would be very much like, I'm going to do it down here, 990, and I'm going to round that up to 60. So if I subtract that, my answer should be close to 930. And so I have what we call a ballpark figure, or an estimate of what my answer should be close to. Now, when we're subtracting, maybe you haven't done it for a while and you've used a calculator, but we can see we can't take 8 from 6. This number is smaller than that, so we can't. So then we have to go from the ones column to the 10 column and actually borrow. So I'm going to make that a 7 and then borrow into here, making this a 16. So usually you only borrow a 1. So now 16 minus 8, if you had to, count it on your fingers, but I know that that's 8. 7 minus 5 is 2. 9, and there's nothing here, is 9. And so our answer is 928, which is very close to our estimated amount, which is 930. Okay, so we're going to finish off whole numbers by coming over here to multiplication. And when I multiply, when I want to estimate, I would probably, to make it closer, I would make that a 40. And this one, rather than bring it up to 30, I find it easy to multiply by 5s. Most people do, because you know if you multiply a whole number by 5, it ends in 0. Odd number by 5 is going to end in 5. And I know my 5's tables, so I'm going to make this 25. And so 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 4 is 20. Leave a space here. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 4 is 8. So my answer is going to be very close, 8 plus 2, to 1,000. So let's see how we do. So when you start to multiply, take the first number. 6 eighths are 48. And I have that memorized. But you could go 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 to get your 6 eighths or 48. Okay, for me, I put that little 4 there so I don't forget. 3 6s, 6, 12, 18. But now I have to add that 4. So 19, 20, 21, 22. So now, there's our first one. Now we're going over into the tens column. So we automatically put a 0 here because we're over 1. So 2 times 8 is 16. I put my little 1 there. 2 times 3 is 6. Add the 1 is 7. Now, we get to add these all together. So 8 and 0 is 8. 6 and 2 is 8. 7 and 2 is 9. And our answer is 988, which is quite close to the 1,000. So we know we're okay. As a practicing nurse, I tended to do this, and then check with the calculator just to make sure. Or if I did it with a calculator, I would check manually, just as a double check, because sometimes we can punch things into the calculator incorrectly, and we just want to know we're in the right area. I quickly want to go over simple division. So I'm going to divide 5 into 84. Sometimes your division comes as a fraction when we're working with ratio and proportion. So just remember that this line always, this line always means divided by. So 84 divided by the number below. So I always remember that because I think, oh, division, that divided by this, same line. Okay, so now I'm going to just work slowly at this. So I'm going to cover up, and I'm going to, 5 goes into 8 once. So that's 5. I then subtract. I know this is a little more complicated, but once you do it a few times, you'll get it. So 8 take away 5 is 3. And then I've got another number here, so I'm going to bring down the 4. And sometimes I'm going to need more numbers, so I might need to add a 0 here, and I can do that. I'm not sure how many decimals, but in nursing we like to go to 2 decimal places. So there's my 34. Now 5 goes into 34 6 times. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, because 7 would be 35. So we're going to do 6. And we've got 30, and we've got 4 left over. Remember, and then we subtract. So we multiply this, 5 times 6, 30, and then, so we got 4 remaining. Now we can bring this down, and 5 into 40, I know goes 8 times. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So my 8 times, and we get 40, and there is 0 remainder. So our answer is 16.8. If we wanted to make this easier, what we could do is, that's the correct answer, but the ballpark figure, I would probably round that up to 85 and divide by 5, and we'll see that 5 7s are 35. So it's going to be very close to 17, and our answer is it's 16.8. So that's a very brief summary of how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide whole numbers. Now we're going to go on and do decimals. So again, there will be a review of this. So if you're having difficulty, you can go to the Learning Center for help, or see one of us for help, there are other avenues, but certainly contact us so we can give you more questions to practice. Thank you.